the idea that a lot of people have this analysis paralysis where they're like, oh, I don't need to share my voice. I don't have anything interesting to say. You might be saying the same thing as the guy down the street, but someone wants to hear it from you. There's a reason you have a certain section of the pie and your personality, your approach, and somebody's going to resonate with that. And I think that usually kills the indecision. And then as far as moving forward, I'll use the phrase land and expand. So as much as the ideal is to jump in and bring in a proper video team to shoot everything right, and this is me saying this, by the way, I think that don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Start somewhere and start that process is what I would recommend. I think that one of the lower benchmarks, especially if you're in like the YouTube space and things like that, is as long as we can hear you and see you, as long as the quality is not distracting me from the messaging, I think that's a good place to start with video production and grow as you grow.
This episode is brought to you by Pierre Tax and Accounting, led by CPA Eric Pierre, a seasoned accounting and tax expert with years of experience helping individuals and businesses navigate complex financial landscapes. Whether you need personal tax planning, business tax strategy, bookkeeping, or financial planning support, Eric and his team are committed to helping you protect and grow your financial future with clarity and confidence. To get expert guidance you can trust, check out Pierre Tax and Accounting at pierreaccounting.com. This episode is brought to you by my friend Silas Lagoy over at ForgeMark Wealth. If you're a high-income business owner or professional and feel like you're getting crushed by taxes, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. ForgeMark Wealth specializes in advanced legal tax strategies and wealth planning designed to help you keep more of what you make, grow it efficiently, and actually build long-term freedom, not just income. If you're making serious money but don't have a real strategy behind it yet, I highly recommend connecting with Silas and his team. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Jon Sherman, who has been in this industry for a while. He does video production. He's the founder of Video Production Inc. Services Inc. rather.
And Productions. I'll jump in. Yeah.
Sorry. He's the founder of Video City Productions, and I'm excited to dive in. He's actually pretty. He helps his clients get set up with podcast studios, which is pretty cool. And I believe in the power of podcasting. So I'm excited to dive into it with him here today. Jon, tell us a little bit of your story, man. Tell us about how you started the company.
Yeah, so I'll do the short version just so we've been doing this since 2008. I actually grew up around video in general. My dad had a video rental store. We used to do video transfers as well. So taking old family videos, converting them to DVD, old 8mm film, all that stuff. So from a young age, got involved in the tech aspects of things, but also the creative. And we've sort of, and I said this off camera to you, Andrew, I liken it to surfing and just like catching the right waves as they shift. And in our industry, things have shifted a lot. You know, I just mentioned it went from video rentals, which are no longer a thing, to video transfer, which is less of a thing. I think you can still do them with Costco maybe, but we're out of that space. And then video production, which is transformed in so many different ways. So we are a boutique video production agency. Our bread and butter are commercials, brand films, training videos. We work with clients as big as Subaru and Five Below and UL Solutions that are national and international. But speaking of surfing in the latest wave, yeah, I really see a lot of opportunity in the video podcasting space for a variety of reasons. And so we built a studio at our office in Philadelphia for turnkey production. We set up folks with setups kind of like mine for remote video podcasting. And yeah, it's a really cool space that we're exploring, learning, and guiding our clients.
What's up, everybody? This episode is sponsored by Von Finch Investments. If you're a business owner or investor looking to grow your wealth beyond the stock market, you need to check out Von Finch Investments. They give you access to institutional quality real estate and private credit deals without the headaches of managing properties yourself. Their model is built around alignment. They invest alongside you, and they only win when you win. If you want passive income, tax efficiency, and real asset exposure, Von Finch is worth a serious look. What's up, everybody? This episode is sponsored by ExitWise. If you're a business owner thinking about selling your company, whether that's now or years down the road, you need to know what your business is actually worth and how to maximize that exit. That's exactly what ExitWise does. They help you prepare, position, and ultimately sell your business by assembling a world-class team of M&A experts around you, guiding you from valuation all the way through closing. If you want to know what your business is really worth and how to increase that number before you sell, go check out exitwise.com and get ahead of it. So, okay, I was actually on your website before this and looking at some of your clients. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
Some pretty big name brands on there. So, talk to me how you think a podcast solution would work for a Subaru. Like, what's your kind of vision there, or am I thinking about it wrong?
So you're not actually. In the relationship with Subaru started with internal video content, HR culture type content. We grew our relationship with them and started doing training videos. And that blended into this new model. So it's actually fascinating that you brought up Subaru as the example. Subaru corporate serves all the retailers around the country, right? So you might be in Indiana, there's a Subaru retailer there, California, right? And there's a lot of content and information that they need to deploy across the country. If you've ever been involved in a traditional video production, there's so much work involved in the pre-production process. We always break it down to three phases: pre-production, production, and post. In the pre-production process, there's scripting and storyboarding and all the back and forth and concept development, right? Then you have production. We got to schedule the shoot day, bring all the people together, shoot the content. It's scripted. Did you get that right? We got to do multiple takes, right? And then there's the editing process. Subaru does that a lot, and they still do a ton of that for clients. It's a very important, or for their retailers, it's a very important part of their training. But there's certain topics that they wanted to deploy information faster, more efficiently. And I just described that whole runway that you have to go down to make a video, right? Video podcasting, and this is my fun term, Andrew, so it flips the script on content creation. You can start with the video, right? There's so much less pre-production and upfront planning that's required. I mean, think about this podcast right now. For those who don't know, I think we spoke for 30 seconds about something totally different.
Yep.
And then you were like,
Yep.
let's jump into it, right? And so
Yep.
if you're a subject matter expert, if you know your area of expertise, you don't need that same level of pre-planning. So what Subaru was able to do is they build out a studio, which we help them build at their facility. And they're able to just bring in the SMEs right in the room, talk about the topic, and in a much shorter time frame, post-produce and get that video out, right? So now, where and when do you use it's important. If you're trying to train somebody on a technician on how to repair a component, you're not going to use video podcasting, right? But if you're launching a new sales initiative, right, or a new service initiative, this is a great way. And that's how Subaru is using it right now.
That's cool. I like that because again, I told you before we hopped on, I did not expect that when I started this podcast, it would be the single greatest way for me to grow my business. But that's what it's become. And every time I have a subject matter expert on the show, inevitably we wind up talking about, well, what's keeping you up at night? What's not going so well in your business? And then we wind up talking solutions. So it always leads somewhere, which I love. Let's just out of curiosity, just for the sake of the audience, to give us you've been in this for a while. Give us a sense of the size of the business or deal flow or top line sales or whatever you feel.
Yeah, sure. So we're a 6-person team in-house, producers and mostly post-production. Everyone on my team knows how to shoot because I think it's really important that whether you're shooting, you know how to edit, and whether you're editing, you know the principles around shooting because it's going to inform your workflow. But because of the timeline and the work that generally bogs you down in the post-production process, I want my editors, I don't want them on phone calls. I'd like to avoid them on too many meetings. I want them at their bays editing and being able to get content out to clients. So we have a whole team of subcontractors as well that we'll work with on the shooting side. And that's about size, I would say. I just had an embarrassingly got off a meeting with my coach before this meeting, and we were trying to figure out the data in terms of like number of projects done in a year, almost like a Spotify Wrapped, and the numbers are still coming in. So I'll let you know. I mean, we have, a slew of clients, and then within a client, we might do 20, 30 projects just for them in a year. Right. So parsing that out in terms of how we're tracking it is a whole different problem, Andrew. But and I think that from the services that we're offering, it really runs the gamut. Not to jump ahead on your next question, but to make and be presumptuous. But I started this business 2008, and I figured out pretty quickly that the folks that are attracted to video production in the creative space are generally one of two types. They're either super techie, like gearheads. They like buttons and cameras and equipment and tripods. or they're very creative and artistic and pie in the sky and dreamy. And neither of those personas are generally known for being easy to work with. So
Mm,
what we decide to do is say, we're going to build our brand around the elevated experience. And it simply means we're easy to work with.
mm.
Collaborative. It's a process of listening, providing guidance, and listening again, right? And really, we find that that's how our best strategy for retaining clients once they get to work with us.
This episode is brought to you by 10x Nerds. If you're a business owner doing real revenue, there's a good chance you're overpaying in areas you haven't even looked at. Things like credit card processing, insurance, telecom, and more. 10x Nerds comes in, audits your expenses across 30 plus categories, and finds immediate savings. And here's the kicker: they only get paid if they save you money. It's a complete no-brainer. If you want to keep more of what you make, go check them out at 10xnerds.com. This episode is brought to you by Rakowski Law Firm. If you're a business owner or have built a level of wealth, but you don't have your estate plan dialed in, you're exposed. Rakowski Law Firm helps families and business owners protect their assets, avoid probate, and make sure everything transfers exactly how it should. This isn't just paperwork, it's a real strategy to protect your legacy. If you haven't looked at your plan in a while or don't have one, go to rakowskilawfirm.com. Let's talk about just the business in general. What do you feel like is going really well, and what are you particularly proud of? And then what do you feel like is not going so well?
I think that we generally hit the mark in terms of we have it's flexible. It's not like, this very specific intake process, right? It's flexible for clients, but all of my team members are really experienced. So I think what's great there is we're able to provide that good experience on a consistent basis, despite so many variables, right? A lot of times clients may be coming to us with a super tight turnaround. This is a last minute budget approval, and we need this content shot for, let's say the training videos I talked about earlier. Hey, we're solving for a problem here. Or someone didn't really plan properly and they're coming in last minute to create a piece of content for a nonprofit fundraiser, right? Those types of things. So I think those are the things that go well. I think that the things that every business struggles with is the intake process and the lead process, and just, making sure that all of those omni-channel things that we're doing, from our website, from the content we create, from the networking we do, from the relationships we build, that they're all working together to bring in new clients, right? I think that probably the biggest struggle we face, and this goes back to that elevated experience that I described, and this is, I think, a lot of clients, and why, again, going back to the whole thing here about podcasting that I love so much, is how many people do you know, Andrew, that they're like, man, you would definitely hire us and never, if you just knew what it was like to work with us. We need to get you in the door first. Once you feel what it's like to work with us, you're never going anywhere else, right? But before that, when you're in the lead process and you're in the maybe responding to an RFP or anything like that, a lot of times you just end up as whatever your website is, whatever your flyer is, and a freaking number on a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a struggle that we have as well, where I will have conversations with clients, and it's a soft touch thing, right? To explain what an elevated experience is like and what easy to work with feels like. And how do you put a number? Like, what's the ROI of the vendor you're working with being easy to work with, right?
Yeah.
But the clients that work with me and have been with me for 15 years, they know it, right? And they don't want to talk to somebody else because they don't want to have to reinvent that wheel. But it's
Yeah.
that new client recognizing that. I think that even as a video creative, you fall into the shoemaker, no shoes. How do you message that properly to the outside world?
That's great. I mean, I think ease of use is huge, reducing friction. A lot of companies try to reduce friction with their service, ease of use with their product. And so I even think about what we do is AI automations. And what I'm finding is if it's complicated, don't do it. Like the easier it is to use once the automation is done, which is why I think something like AI receptionists are starting to take off, whereas some of the more complex AI automations that are automating like more, intricate workflows are just not really doing a whole lot.
Right.
So I find that fascinating. Let's talk about AI for a second, by the way. So
Yeah.
in the video space, I'm sure you're inundated with different types of tools. I mean, I was just looking at a Descript the other day, an AI video editing tool. I mean, we pay for things like HeyGen, which is a, video generator. Like how is it affecting what you guys do, and how are you leveraging it?
It's like into what I said earlier about, surfing the wave, right? And you got to be constantly paddling and ready for it and be ready to jump on. I'm, by the way, not a great surfer. I've been out twice and I've ridden one, but it didn't go great. But I think that for us, we've actually just produced our first full commercial totally in AI for a client, right?
Hmm.
And I think for me, there is a look, just like everything else, there's a moral quandary with using these tools, right? There's a question mark as to really what the creative is coming from. If AI is just sourcing content from the internet and repurposing it, right? Like whose artwork is being stolen. And I think that like morally, we need to be conscientious around that and think about those things. There's the energy ramifications and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this tool is here. It's here to stay, and it's going to absolutely transform the way we do things. And I think that just like anything else, leveraging that tool in a way that's authentic for your clients and makes sense for we've all seen bad AI. We've all seen
Yeah.
bad use cases and bad marketing, and we've seen some pretty amazing things that are done too. And I think that on the post-production side, we're using a ton of tools. I just was at a marketing summit, and the person called down because it happened to be a client of mine. They were on the panel and they were like, we actually work with these guys, and we interviewed a leader who they were reading off of a script on their laptop. I'm actually have bad eye line right now. I'll have to use this tool after this interview. And they kept looking down at the script. And so there are tools now where we can fix your eye line and make it look like you were looking in the camera the whole time, right?
Huh.
These are AI tools.
Is it the one where by the way, NVIDIA has something like that? Is that the one?
I'll tell you a secret. It's actually in the program we're using right now too. Riverside has that
Oh,
also.
cool.
So,
Cool.
so high five, 10 points for you. That's free advice there. So Descript uses one as well. And again, if you use them correctly and in the right ways, they're super effective. There's post-production audio tools now. A lot of video people that got into video in the old days, you needed to have a dedicated sound person and you need to have a dedicated sound engineer to edit it. And those things are still valuable if you really are doing things at a high level and doing them well. But for a podcast like this, to be able to run your audio through a single tool that just makes it sound richer and cleaner, it's just a total win. And it's really hard to argue that that's not an amazing thing to use. But if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit about, because I'm very proud of this, the video that we did for this client.
Yeah.
Because I think that using these tools, whatever tool you're using, if it's video podcasting to churn content or connect with your audience, if it's a brand film, if it's a commercial, if it's a concept around your business, it needs to be on brand. It needs to be authentic to you and to your audience for it to resonate. So we have this builder that we're working with. They're one of the biggest on your lot builders in the West Coast. So you buy a plot of land and they will come in and put your dream home on it, right? The concept was the creative that they came to us was, don't settle for someone else's dream home. And we immediately went Goldilocks, right? So dream home, not settling, made me think of Goldilocks. So we went in and we produced an AI-driven video where Goldilocks keeps stumbling on these absurd houses, right? I believe one of the lines was a wine fridge the size of a washing machine. And literally we generated an AI, a washing machine that looked like it was stacked with wine, right? Things that don't exist and could not exist. Like you couldn't make this video unless you animated it in real life. And
Yeah.
we were able to generate this. Now, by the way, for those who are going, oh, this is so cheap and we can just type it into AI and it'll just do it for us, there were tons of iterations to create consistency in the characters. We used multiple tools to get this done. We also incorporated actual editing tools and actual editors to get it done. But the final product, and by the way, I didn't like AI voiceover, and we ended up bringing in a real voiceover artist because I didn't think that the delivery was good on the tools that we were using. And ultimately, we delivered something that made sense for that client and was authentic to the campaign and the vision. They're super excited about it. We've got some A/B test versions and all that stuff. And yeah, so it's really opened the doors to do things creatively you couldn't do before.
That's so cool. All right. What's something we haven't talked about so far? You seem like you're probably somebody that's pretty well read and you have some business principles you live by. What are maybe one or two of your favorite kind of principles in how you run your business?
So I think that, again, that elevated experience that I talked about earlier, it's not just, when I say easy to work with, that doesn't mean we're, yes people and just, that's a process of leveraging your experience, providing guidance. Like easy to work with means you're a collaborative partner, right? It's also how you treat people. You treat your clients well, you got to treat the people you work with well. And I think that those are really important values. If we're going to go down in the book side of things, just as I'm panicking right now answering your question, I'll go Michael Gerber. I'm a big I'm a big E-Myth fan. If you've read The Entrepreneurial Myth with Gerber, it's the only book I've read twice, and love that. Love a lot of those principles around process and create. And really, the elevated experience was kind of born from reading that. Was the idea that you have to create a great experience, soup to nuts, at every single juncture of where you're touching the client. Yeah. How about, let me ask you, Andrew, from your perspective, how are you guys leveraging AI other than the tool that you obviously provide? And maybe we talk about that a little bit, and what are you a Gerber fan? Do you have other books that you're sort of dabbling in?
I just finished Elon Musk's biography.
Okay.
Fascinating. The one that Walter Isaacson wrote is the same guy that wrote the one on Ben Franklin, Steve Jobs, and that has been blowing my mind lately. And I think what has struck me about his biography, and I'm just like high on it right now, is like, he is just, well, number one, on the bad side of things, he has no personal life. Like, and he cannot hold down a relationship to save his life. He really can't. He's got a ton of kids, but he's got no consistent, and because he has no balance. There's no work-life balance for him. He works until midnight. He works until 3 a.m. sometimes. But dude, he sets the most ridiculous goals for his companies. And then he basically questions everything. So like, think about SpaceX. I've just been like thinking about this a lot. Yeah. Incredibly regulated to put rockets into the atmosphere and to put them into outer space. And he consistently is like, the word he uses is delete. Like he looks at the booster, which, if NASA was to build this rocket booster, it'd be millions of dollars, just one of these little boosters on his freaking, rockets that he launches. And he figures out a way, deleting all of the requirements, getting it all simplified down. He gets it down to like 250 grand to build one of these rocket boosters. And he like figures out a way to remove all of the different parts. Like if he can find the parts at like an auto parts store, like he's going to push his team to do it. It's not going to be, up to standard at all. And that's just like one example. I mean, he came into Twitter and he literally fired 80% of Twitter, and so I've just been amazed by that. But one of the things I think about a lot is the way he's able to operate 6 multi-billion-dollar companies is he basically just moves from business to business and he solves their biggest problem. And so like, I like to think of myself as a very poor man's version of like, I want to eventually be something similar to that. Like I have 4 different companies. The goal is for each of them to create some sort of freedom for business owners. And so that's the one that I've been high on lately, but I have zero desire to emulate anything with regards to his family and personal life. So yeah,
it's fascinating. I'm wondering if that, that level of intention and dedication and the sacrifices, right? That's to a certain extent what it takes. How does a book like that end if the person's still living? Does it just say to be continued at the end of the book? Like, how does that,
where did
how do you end that story?
It's a great question. I don't really remember where it ended. I mean, I think the most recent stuff was the Twitter stuff. So it kind of ended in that whole kind of chapter of his life, but yeah, man, it was, and so I started to move on to the Steve Jobs one, and it's just not quite as interesting, to be honest. So,
interesting. It's funny. So to that point, and I liken this to the Elon Musk story, and this past summer, my wife and I went to Paris, visited the Eiffel Tower, took one of the tours. During the tour, they're explaining how, I forget his first name, but the guy Eiffel, which is named after, what he went through to build this thing. And ultimately, I'm not going to bore you with the whole story, but what's really fascinating about it is that Paris did not want this thing. This is the symbol of Paris. And when it was being built, the Parisians at the time were all against it. The government backed out on this guy. He had to self-fund it. And he just had this vision and persevered. And not only did he persevere, but he benefited immensely from it. He made a ton of money once the Eiffel Tower was finalized. And it did remind me of, because obviously there's so much like love and hate around, some of these icons that we have, the Bezoses, the Musks and whatever. And it's just like, it was a good moment to sort of sit back and go, like it or not, that vision and that dedication to that and staying on mission and solving the problems and figuring them out, the ones that no one else can solve. It's an incredible thing. And, you don't you only see a couple of those in any given century, right?
Mm.
I think regardless of where you fall, it's just fascinating to see these individuals do these things that
Fascinating.
like no one could do, no one's done before.
John, what I have a lot of like blue collar guys that listen to this show, and these guys are not video editors. They're not leveraging a lot of the super nerdy AI tools and things. Like
Sure.
what's one simple thing you would say to some of those service-based types of blue collar businesses? I think video is so powerful, man. Like if you have something to say, I can think of my buddy Jack, who owns a farm, and he works with a video content agency. And one of his videos talking about the different cuts of meat that you can get from a cow got 2 million views.
Wow.
And here's a guy who probably thinks that what he has to say is not interesting. And lo and behold, it went, I don't know if it's viral, but he got 2 million views on this one video. So like, what would you say? What's a small step like some of these companies could take?
So the first thing I would say is that, that's a tough question because you kind of gave me, but I was going in a direction. And then when you said at the end, what's the first step?
Go whichever way you want to go with it. I'm sure it'll be good.
So I think first let's understand what the value of video is, in my opinion, other than it's this amazing vehicle for delivering information, right? In just a better way, in a faster way, in a more efficient way. I think the big nuance, right? When you think of all the different mediums of content that you could use, right? A flyer, an email or whatever, nothing allows people to understand what it feels like to work with you like video does, right? Mm-hmm. The nuances of how you say something, right, can be the thing that really makes the difference of like, that's who I want to work with versus that. I would say the second part to what you just said is, to your friend that got 2 million views in that one video and thought no one would want to hear what he wants to say. I think that to that, I would say that, let's say you're a contractor, there's however many, I know that we don't have enough, but like there's a problem in the blue collar workforce. We don't have enough tradespeople and experts in that space, which is good for you because you're working in it right now. But there's of the population of people that could work with you, even in your own town, right? You've got competition, and all of those people are going to get some piece of the pie. And what that says is that there's a version of construction, there's a version of AI lead gen sales, there's a version of video production that someone's listening to this right now and going, I will never work with that guy, Jon Sherman. And somebody else is listening to this same thing and going, wow, that really resonates with me. And so I think that the idea that a lot of people have this analysis paralysis where they're like, oh, I don't need to share my voice, I don't have anything interesting to say. You might be saying the same thing as the guy down the street, but someone wants to hear it from you. That there's a reason you have a certain section of the pie and your personality, your approach, and somebody's going to resonate with that. And I think that usually kills the indecision. And then as far as moving forward, I'll use the phrase land and expand. So as much as the ideal is to jump in and bring in a proper video team to shoot everything right, and this is me saying this, by the way, proper team to shoot everything right, I think that don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Start somewhere and start that process is what I would recommend. I think that one of the lower benchmarks, especially if you're in like the YouTube space and things like that, is as long as we can hear you and see you, as long as the quality is not distracting me from the messaging, I think that's a good place to start with video production and grow as you grow.
I love it. Well, John, if people want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Visit us at videocityinc.com, videocityinc.com. And I will say that while a lot of folks look at video production as something that is geographically located, right? I'm not going to fly a team all the time. And we do get flown all across the country. We've really built out a network of video teams that we work with nationally, and a process where if you want to work with us for our creative and our post-production, we can help source teams locally to shoot the content. So we're keeping business local and also giving you the creative that you want. So if you like the way I say it versus how the guy down the street saying it, but you're across the country, we can still work together.
I love it, man. Well, don't go anywhere because I want to keep talking, but thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Andrew. Appreciate it.